if you're looking at me hard, you got lots of heart to see. Inside your heart.
Episode 10. Usually I would start this out by getting annoyed with Greg singing, but it's been so long since he's been here. Can anyone really be upset with anything Greg's going to do tonight? It's certainly a relief to hear his voice back on the show. We're doing rooms 6 and 35 today at the insistence of Alex. He has guaranteed us 5-star 35 tonight. Is that right? Tomorrow it's going to be on.
Allegedly. Those are allegations that I can't reveal at this moment.
This may be the last podcast you see coming from this YouTube channel. We're working on making a channel that's going to be devoted entirely to Maze. This channel essentially is devoted entirely to Maze because I don't do videos related to anything else, but this one will actually have a name and a design and some text and some things that actually communicate to people that it's about Maze without them watching the video. So there's some big things in store, but all the videos you've seen so far will still be available. I'm talking to the audience as if there's a crowd of people out there who are anxious about whether they can go back and watch the back episodes of our Mazecast.
What's the big change? Big change. I could understand people doing a lot of consternation. I mean, you just dropped a bomb right here out the gate. Changing the channel. Changing the name.
It shouldn't disrupt your viewership because I think all our viewers probably hear about us from the Abyss, so they should be able to follow us okay. If not, you're watching it now and you've been forewarned, and it can't be that. We'll put this channel will still exist. It'll still have the videos on it, and when the new channel exists, we'll put the link to the new channel and the old stuff, so it'll be a seamless transition. Okay. Alex is going to be presenting the rooms to us. I don't know if you have a preference where you want to start. You can take it away.
What's up, guys? Alex here from the northern tundra of Canada. As you can see, by the way, I'm dressed in my Eskimo furs. Yeah, I mean, today we're talking about 6 and 35, the two rooms in the maze that only have one door to go through, which sort of leads us to say, well, hey, maybe there's something else going on in these rooms that isn't related to the decision. Maybe it's something to do with the guide, perchance. So, yeah, I want to start off in 6. I didn't really have too much in 35. I think Vince has some better stuff that has been mentioned a long time ago, maybe in June. But, yeah, I'm going to go straight on to 6. So, what did I write down here? So, okay, so I think the overall theme of this room is basically hinting you to go back to 1. There's a few things that I see here. Well, there's the word admitted, and that's sort of out of place. You know, like, you know the way Manson uses words, they're not necessarily necessary for a sentence, but in this case I think that stands true with the word admitted. Anyway, I'll get into that later. Actually, it's seeming kind of weak now. My other one was judge by how it looks. You could interpret that as justice is blind, so in this room, as in 29, maybe your visuals aren't going to help you too much, which is the case in any case because the only room to go to is 40. So the eye door, this is really the most compelling thing in this room. I mean, you know, we've talked in the chat a lot about the ladder, and I've always fought about how, oh no, break the rules. You can still go up the ladder even though one of the rungs is broken. But past all that, I think the eye is more compelling because the way that it's on a sign, there's only a few signs in the maze that don't have a purpose. Like there's in 10 and 20. If you go to 10, there's a sign that hasn't been painted yet, or it's blank or whatever. And then in 20, you have a sign that's literally covered with a sheet of paper or a sheet of cloth or something. So those are just examples. I'm sure there's others in the maze that don't go anywhere or are covered or concealed or that kind of stuff. But the point I'm trying to make is that this is it looks like a sign, like it's the same same design as any of the real signs in the maze, and it's got an eye on it, which is sort of, you know, we're all familiar with this thing, a 1. But my big sort of thing with all this is you're not really breaking the rules going to 1 because you have to go to 1 anyway if you're quitting the program. So, but my point is that it's sort of more hints towards 1 than any other room in either the trap or the loop. Mostly the trap, just because once you're there you can't get out. So you don't really know that unless you get clues like stuff in 22. But other than that, it's not. Oh yeah, and of course the no escape with the ape, but not too many in 40. In any case, I'm feeling like I used up all my ammo. Yeah, that's it, guys. That's all I got for room 6.
You gave some new stuff and thoughts, but you didn't run down the little. I mean, there's still some stuff in here to talk about, just to bring people up to speed.
Yeah, let's bring it up to speed, because I have not done my homework. I have not read up on these rooms to see what the community has said. So if you could, that'd be great.
Well, for 6, there's not that much. It is a 5-starred room on Into the Abyss with 1 solution, and that is just that the writing on the sign of 40 matches the writing on the you follow it to 40, and then the writing on the sign in 40 for room 38 matches the writing in 6 for the sign for 40. Jesus Christ, I hope no one's actually trying to follow all that. So that indicates a path to follow, which takes you away from room 24, and that's.
So 40 is written in the same font as 38 is in 40.
Yes.
Yeah, I wasn't sure whether it was right to say font for something that appeared that's handwritten, so I was saying style. But yeah,
it communicates meaning though. So
yeah.
whether I have a few things for this room that I noticed. I don't know if it's stuff that people have said that I just been remembering or not. So the ladder, the 4th rung is broken.
Mm-hmm.
It might tell you going 40 is broken. There's a lot of looking in this room. There's look, talking about the way things look. There's notice, important notice. There's the eye. Notice the way the eye is hanging, the eye sign. And then go back to text. Even I was oppressed by the weight that hung over our heads. So the eye is kind of like tilted over from the weight above it. And I'm wondering if that eye isn't looking kind of upwards. In a way.
It looks like it's kind of swinging in the breeze, doesn't it?
Uh-huh. Yeah, it's not looking directly at you, though. Right? Like, if you move around, the eye doesn't follow you. The eye never looks you in the eye if you're looking at it, like some pictures do.
Yeah.
And then there's that capstone over the archway, the black archway in the back, next to 40.
Mm-hmm.
That's a face without eyes. So, some things there. And then the pillar in the middle could be seen as a letter I as well.
I suppose. The important notice, we talked about room 6 a little bit when we talked about room 32, because we mentioned then about how all the rooms connected to 32 seem to have information related to the guide. I don't know whether we pointed out in regard to the important notice. I mean, obviously what it suggests to be saying, until it gets to the bottom where you can't read it, is all those who are visiting this house must be aware that the individual representing himself as the blank is no other than the blank. Interesting is that second the, or at least it appears to be a THE at the beginning, which suggests, the sign certainly suggests that it's talking about the guide. I would hope that it's not a red herring in that regard. But what's interesting is it suggests that the guide is either something or someone who would be referred to as the blank. Like if it were Jesus Christ, it wouldn't say the, Or I guess that's
Christ.
Or whatever. But yeah, you get
the Messiah.
I guess it could say the president, but whatever. It's somebody who's in being described. It would start out with a the, or it's somebody whose name starts with THE.
Like
TCS.
say it.
Yes.
Yeah.
TCS.
But you don't want it to be Theseus. That's
No, I don't want it to be anyone in particular.
I just meant you don't want to think of the heroic character of Theseus. Although I guess he was kind of a bad guy in some ways, like when he went down to the underworld to capture.
The Greek notion of heroism is a bit different than Hollywood's, for example.
Yeah, it's not exactly a moral status. It's more about having the capability to kill monsters and stuff.
Yeah.
He just doesn't seem like somebody who would fit the role. He seems more malevolent.
Yeah. Yeah.
But he could become embittered over time. A lot's changed since his heroing days. People change. Do you make anything of the difference in the... So there's a lot of different types of craftsmanship in this room. So there's kind of that miner look, that mine look with the wood holding up the roof. And then there's stonework, right, in the back there. And then there's kind of a more rough, like almost tree trunk-like look in the 40 cave. We kind of have three different types of architectural elements at work here.
Yeah, and what's odd, I mean, you got those and you have the ladder. What's odd is they made all the entrances in such a distinct style, but yet they don't really seem to correlate to the rooms that came into this room, you know what I mean? Like, it's not like you really connect those. I don't know which room is supposed to go with the ladder, if in fact any room does.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's interesting. They mentioned there's a small hole above that emits a feeble light.
Yeah.
Which seems like it would have to be the hole at the top of the ladder because you got to go somewhere. But I guess that's not necessarily true. The ladder could just get off, like it could end at a ledge in a doorway up there, and the hole could be higher up.
Or it could just end at a ledge and there's nothing up there.
Yeah.
Or maybe that's what the bathroom is. Someone mentioned there's no bathrooms.
Yeah. You know, Thale Kreider, Hidden Mystery, mentioned that he thought that this room was below room 11 and that the tiny hole that the light is coming through is the hole that the wires are going down from the doorknob in 11. I don't know that there's a whole lot of reason to think that, but I kind of like the idea of
The tiny hole, that's the reason to think that, I guess.
Right, I mean...
Yeah.
Right, if you're looking through the maze for something, a room that would be above this, I mean, it's kind of problematic because, you know, one of the visitors puts out a hand and says, I think it's raining out there, suggesting that there's clearance from the sky down, whereas 11 seems to be indoors. On the other hand, 11 is... It's just grating, and it's dark outside of that, so it could be outside. Mm-hmm. Which is interesting because they always make reference to it could be raining, and where they're going, it could be raining, whatever. And then when you get to 11, which is your last stop before the abyss, if that's a darkened sky up there, it could be an indication of the rain coming.
Right.
But then it never really comes because then it's just total darkness in 24.
So here we also have the line about the deceptions practiced on his family, particularly his father.
Mm-hmm.
Elsewhere, when he's talked about his family, I think it can be used as a clue, not necessarily just directed towards his identity. Again, I don't know what this room is different in that we're assuming that there's some way to go other than the most obvious way, right, which is 40. So what it could be cluing to, I don't know. I always look at the last lines on these pages because those oftentimes end up being kind of like a keystone to solving a room. Mm-hmm. And this one, we went down the only way open to us. And so going down tells you probably not the ladder, The eye is open. Uh, I don't know.
I like that.
How about that? That's interesting. Look down. You know, there does seem to be a relevance to depth in here. I don't
Yeah.
think it has anything to do with solutions. I mean, we're kind of past that point in room 6, both because it doesn't matter where you go because you're in the trap and because there's only one way to go. But it does make a
It
point.
looks like there's only one way to go.
That's what I'm saying. This is why I'm saying, like, the whole one thing. Everything, like, unless you can think of something else that it would go to, I think one is the way to go.
Yeah, but it's not. I mean, there's not a door to 1. And if this did have a door to 1, then the shortest path would be shorter than 16 steps. Because you could come here from 32 and then go straight to 1, and that would be faster than taking the path.
Yeah, but you don't really think about this room unless you're stuck in here for a while. I don't think you would consider this room if you were legitimately taking the path and then suddenly end up in 6 and you're like, oh, well.
That's right, you wouldn't think of it because it's bogus.
Yeah.
You go to
All
1 from 6.
Yeah, I don't know. I mentioned in the chat something about the stepping stones, how they lead to the ladder, and then the last stone before the ladder is a little bit raised, sort of like a stepping stool. David Gentile, I'm just like throwing stuff out here. David Gentile talked about how the little thing in the archway beyond door 40, could sort of looks like a bumbershoot. I think it looks more like a jackhammer.
Oh, yeah. I think it looks like a couch leg,
Couch leg, yeah.
like a chair leg.
Yeah, I don't know. Can't really tell what that thing is.
But we don't want to. Do we want to judge it by how it looks, or not judge it by how it looks, based on the text? Are we supposed to judge these things by how they look, or not by how they look?
It's a good
I wouldn't.
the guide sort of implies to them that they shouldn't, which ordinarily would mean that you should, but then he also sort of reproaches himself for saying that, so maybe it was good advice.
Yeah.
The one thing I'd like to do is talk about 35, and then go back and talk about the rooms in comparison with each other, because I feel like, you know, these rooms are the 2 rooms that have one way out, but I feel like there's also a lot of similarities that beyond that would be interesting to touch on, and maybe we could come up with something based on that, or not. But
Like both rooms, you have to exit to the left.
Yeah, there's several, but let's not get ahead of ourselves. Let's jump to 35.
Wait. And let me say one more thing about room 6, which
I will.
White Raven mentioned today or yesterday that there is no outside knowledge needed to solve the mystery of the guide, which is interesting because I think that sort of limits the kinds of clues I know you don't like doing that, but it kind of the kinds of clues we'd be looking for that would identify who the guide is. And in fact, saying that there's no outside knowledge required, but that we're going to get the name, identity of the narrator in here, it seems to me like it almost has to be just spelled out. Does that make sense? I don't know how else you would clue the identity of a character that you don't have to know about from outside sources.
Maybe Raven was speaking in riddles, and he meant that you don't have to go to an outside room to find the guide, or perhaps that the guide is not an outdoor character. He's somebody like Hades who only resides in the underworld.
I don't even know whether he used the word outside or whether I'm just using that when I'm paraphrasing.
Don't paraphrase. Wording is so important. No, that would imply that it's like a word game.
Anyway, I think the I is just the letter I. If
that you would use to find the guide.
Judge it by the way that it looks and the fact that it's an eye, that it sees things, That's incorrect. It doesn't matter that it looks at things or what its function is. The point is just that it's an eye.
Yeah, so don't look for which way it's pointing or anything like that.
So,
But you're also judging it by the way that it looks by saying it's just an eye.
yeah, sort of. Or, I don't care. No, it's...
Well, really, it's a drawing of an eye. A drawing of a sign of an eye.
Yeah. Oh, so many levels. They say "pound peep." But anyway, I mean that if that's correct, then the guide is something or someone whose name contains an I. I was talking to Alex earlier about, in 11, you remember? I don't know if you remember. There's the T and the A that's in the wires and the grating. You can see in the top left, and we kind of wanted there to be an R and a P in there somewhere too, so it would spell trap. Are you looking at it? Do you see a T and an A?
No. I don't see
Yeah, let me see if I can. Oops. All right. Can you see? You're looking at my screen? Boy, this is terrible.
at your screen.
Let me put it on my screen so it'll stick on there. Okay. So, it's not gonna stay clear.
Oh, where the wires crossed?
Yes.
I see that, yeah.
The A, I think, very certainly seems to be a deliberate letter. The T looks pretty good to me too, but we didn't see any other good letters to go with that. But if those are letters in the guide's name as well, then we have an I, and then something else, and then a T and an A, which I think means we're sort of on our way to spelling Minotaur.
And there's also there's text in there that in 11 that tells you to look at the grapes.
With the gratefully, you mean?
Gratefully leaving the room. That's definitely saying something's up with the grapes.
And the Minotaurs is something you would describe with a the. Is the Minotaur?
Yeah.
So really, I think we're done here. We don't really need to fill in the rest of these blanks.
No, we got enough. We got enough.
I'll leave it up to the viewer if you want to punch in the rest of the holes here.
Yeah, we did the groundwork for you.
And I mentioned also to Alex, sort of facetiously, although no, it's facetious. But then from 11, if you go to 24, the last two letters you need to spell Minotaur are U and R, and the phrase "you are" does appear in the text.
Yeah.
It says "you are here with the rest of us now."
It's true. They're not really highlighted though.
No, that's why I'm not jumping up and down about that. It seems
don't jump up and down.
You would have to be
jump up and down about something else, something worth jumping up and down about, but not that.
It wouldn't be the first time that letters in the text are used to spell out something.
True.
But yeah, every other time, or maybe it's just one other time, I don't remember, but it's pretty keenly focused on in other places. Here it's just buried in there. You have to be...
Pick two random words in the text and have that be what you want it to be.
Well, although it's not totally our... we have good reason to be looking for "you are," and look, there's "you are," and well, whatever. If someone out there wants to find the M for us and then a no in room 40, then it could. Then we've got the sucker cracked.
So your hypothesis is it's all in the trap?
Yeah. My hypothesis is, no, because whatever room contains the M, I'm guessing would be outside the trap, and then lead to 6, where you get the I. Then to 40, where you get an NO, and then 11 with the TA, and then 24 with the UR. I don't know if I can really call that my hypothesis, since I don't like most of it. But I guess the idea that I'm communicating it'd be a chain of rooms in a row that spells out Minotaur.
But you don't believe it, so you're just wasting time.
God damn it, Greg! It's not a waste of time. It's important to get these ideas out there. Somebody could hear it and say, "Well, no, that doesn't work." But here's what does work.
I'm 40. Did you see the guy hula hooping?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's fun.
Yeah, it's hard not to see it that way. You think that's what it's? I mean, it's certainly what it looks like.
Yeah. Well, in the 80s, people were really into hula hoop then.
Everyone was just hula hooping like crazy in 1985.
The hooping 80s. Do we move on to 35 now?
Yeah, I'm done wasting your time with my stupid ideas.
Oh, now you like the idea. If you like the idea, it's not a waste of time. But if you're just giving ideas that you don't like, then
I think there are problems with the idea, but I think there's something there potentially. I think the T and the A and the I are well situated to be spelling a word out. I think whatever. 35.
right, 35. Alex, did you want to talk about 35?
Not really.
Oh. Well, I'll talk about 35. If you don't.
Okay, go for it.
Okay, so 35, this is the room with the tribal fetish or the signal. Some other things we see is a suit hanging up. There's a ladder, a light bulb hanging from 2 hooks. The room with the broken couch, the inconspicuous book of matches, crumpled up paper, springs. This is one where the thoughtful one comes up with something, a purpose for the totem, and she says it's a signal. And the signal's pointing left. The guide then says, "Yes," I said right away, "I'm sure you're right." So right is repeated twice, and then she's suspicious of that. So I think there's kind of a leftward motion there. We're pointing to the door on the left. Now this is one of the rooms that fits in with my 25 hypothesis, or my 25 solution, where all the rooms connected to 25 speak to 25 in some way. So there's the different levels of comfort. There's the middle class room, which is the right room. There's the room where you can't sit down because there's a megaphone on the chair, and
it says explicitly that they weren't. It says explicitly they weren't comfortable in there.
Yeah, it says explicitly they're not comfortable. And then this one, they sit down gratefully, but then the couch breaks. And so if you transpose this tribal fetish to 25, it also points to the right room. But there's probably more to it than that. But it does fit in that case. There's also the blank thing on the wall, which Vince had an interesting notion about that, which proved to be a waste of time. But I'm sure you can tell you about it. Since you've already spent this much time with us, gentle viewers, that you might as well continue. Go ahead.
Yeah, it's an interesting thing, but I agree. It's got to be a waste of time. But it's there's the blank sheet or poster or whatever it is. There's a big white rectangle behind the totem, and there's that light bulb there by it. And I don't remember what got me thinking this way, but I thought maybe that's an indication to like hold pages up to the light, hold this page up to the light, and see through it into something else. And I tried it different ways, looking into the text, letting that bleed through, and that doesn't get you anything. Maybe looking at room 36 behind it and lining those up, but that doesn't seem to get you anywhere. If you line it up the other way, so that you're looking at page 34 from the back side, and you've got 35 behind it, and you're looking at both of them at a light bulb, it's interesting that the door with the yes sign on it seems to line up perfectly with the white piece of paper there. So you can see the guy walking through the door, and you can see the sign that says yes, and it falls right in that white space there. But what does that do for you? Nothing really. Well,
It's
it's hard to imagine.
Go ahead.
It's hard to imagine that if Manson was trying to clue holding a light bulb up to these images in some way, that's the way he would arrange the pages to have you look through them. That he would have you look behind 35 at the page that's on the other side there. It's just it's an interesting thing to line up.
Well, now that you mention it, I mean, it does kind of help you in 36.
It's beyond not being. What's that?
Oh, sorry, I was saying it does kind of help you in 36 because if you, regardless of the blank poster behind it, if you do the 2 pages with 35 and 36, it points to 7, which is the right door. And may I also add that they're both tripods, the fetish and the guitarist's little note sheet thingy. Whatever, that's just a tangent. Continue.
Well, also that is interesting. The tripods going back the other way to 34, the fetish overlaps Mr. Yes or Top Hat as he goes through the Yes door, and there's also a suit hanging on the wall, which could be that when he takes out the suit, he's just this inert thing.
Oh shit! You know what? There's the bass clefs too on the couch, which is sort of reminiscent of music too, right? Because that's musical notation.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, that's interesting.
Yeah. So other things about this room, the springs kind of match the couch sides. So the couch have that. The springs also look like that kind of cleft symbol. There's hooks. There's two in the wall, one hanging up the boot there, and the hooks in the ceiling point different directions. And one thing I noticed when I was looking at this is the threes are different, and I don't know why, but the 33. What's that?
As a Gentile pointed that out. Yeah, they're quite different.
No, they're not that different. It's the same font. They're just different sizes.
No.
No. It's a different font, but it's probably not a font, but they're drawn differently. There's a different amount of space between the middle nipple and the top.
Yeah, I mean, it's not like he did it with a round ascender, right? Like they both have the flat ascenders, and then the descenders are different, and then but what I'm saying is it's like I don't think there's anything there.
Okay.
But that's just me. I mean, if you can relate this to something.
No, I'm at the observation point where I'm just observing things that seem out of the ordinary. But I have no way of connecting anything.
You know, I was trying to find words in the rocks because you know how the rocks are like they're positioned. They're pretty random in their positioning. So I was trying to look for letters or something in the rocks, but like in the wall. But I couldn't find anything cool.
I mean, I can't think of any other room where you've got the double double number like that they're drawn so differently. I mean, they're right next to each other. It's not like you forgot what the other one looked like.
Look at all the 11s and 22s. They're not drawn that way. Now there are issues like he's not perfectly regular with all of his numbers either. It's all hand drawn. He's not using a font.
Right.
Well, that's what I mean. Like you got to give some lax for the fact that it's not done with a ruler.
Yeah,
but they're quite a bit different.
Man, I could draw a closer 3 to.
Okay, maybe there is a significance to that.
I don't know that means anything. I'm just saying it's. I can't. Well, I don't know. It seems like he had to know he was drawing them differently.
Yeah.
The thing with the hooks and the cushions that was suggested somewhere between Gentile and me. I don't know where it actually came. It was some discussion between the two of us. But so you got 3 hooks and 3 couch cushions. Like with the couch cushions, you've got 2 of them together on the couch, and then the third one's over on the other side of the room there. And you got the 2 hooks that are together holding up the cord, and then a third one off by on the other side of the room holding up the jacket. And what was suggested is, well, from 35 you go to 33, and then the correct door in 33 is 3. So it's kind of like you've got this set of 3 threes where 2 of them are together, and then the next one is off by itself, and drawing a relationship between that and the 2 couch cushions, and then the third couch cushion off, and the 2 hooks, and then the third hook off, being like the 3s.
Uh-huh.
Which,
that would fit with the weird way the 3s are drawn on the sign here. Because
it's a 3.
it bunch together the top 2 elements of the 3, and then the bottom one is further away, right?
Yeah. Is that a 3-piece suit?
It could
It
be.
looks like a 2-piece suit. I mean, yeah, you can't see what's under there, but you can't see a vest or anything. It just looks like a jacket and pants.
No, but the jacket style I'm saying, like it cuts really high up. Isn't that jacket style called the 3-piece jacket? Like as
No.
opposed to
3 pieces, you have 3 different clothing elements: a vest, a jacket, and pants.
oh, double-breasted. Sorry, I'm thinking double-breasted.
Oh. Yeah, we've tried to do something with that. We've got the 2-piece suit and the matches, so we want to match something. But yeah, we
And I
just
think
don't.
Ben mentioned how flammable this room is.
Yeah,
Mhm.
a lot of paper. You see faces in the paper, the crumpled paper? Does anyone see faces in that paper? Or birds or anything?
Mm, I
No
don't.
magpies in there. Or hoopoo birds.
No birds.
No, but what I will say is there's a sort of rod or cane looking thing under the couch. The part that hasn't collapsed, like the part that still has a leg. If you look underneath, it looks like a little pole type thing.
Yeah.
You think that's to be grouped with the 2 pieces of wood that are leaning against the wall on the right side of the room? I think to go with the Vance Gentile 2-in-1 pattern.
It's possible, but it doesn't look the same as those pieces of wood.
Yeah, it's pretty different.
Maybe he just accidentally drew it different.
Oh, you jest. Well, Greg, you were talking about similarities between the 2.
Yeah.
Rooms. I assume you mean the latter.
The ladder is one. I'll just go. I wrote a list. They both have ladders. That's something. They both are suggested that they're relatively low in their structures. So this appears to be someone's basement.
Mhm.
The other one is like down below everything, right?
Mhm.
They both have a lot of stone, but they have a dim lighting in both of them. The number 6 has that feeble light that is emitted, and then this has that other feeble light. Both have just pieces of wood leaning against the different areas. That's what I interpret that piece of wood, or that thing sticking up in the dark thing in 6, the dark passageway in 6 below the eyeless capstone. And then there are different things that are suggestive of light and silence. So we have the things left standing alone in light and silence at the end of 35. And then the guy talking about how he shouldn't have said anything, and I don't know, just some similar elements. Again, I don't really have much I can go with that. anywhere I can go with that. Exits are to the left. But I've tried to look at a little bit at taking some of the text from one and applying it to the other. And it works in some cases. Like to try to hide my smile, kind of works with that eyeless capstone thing. But I don't think that would be intended to do that. But I think you're supposed to actually go through the maze and not actually flip back and forth between two pages.
Yeah.
I always wondered if the door to 24 was ever on the left side of the room. Like maybe if it was a signal that left, like, is 24 ever on the left side of the room? Or the most lefterly door? I don't think it is.
Most left, I don't think so.
Maybe it could be that. It could be saying it's a signal never to, or to take the left route if you don't know.
You always go left. You never have to stop reading the book. I'm doing a quick check for you, Alex.
No, it's not. It's not on that side of the thing at all.
There are a lot of trap entrances on the left.
There are.
But actually, if you make it to 40 and you go through the left, you'll just keep going back and forth between 40 and 11.
Yeah. Well, that's good enough, right? At least you're not. You're pretty much screwed in the trap anyway, so.
Okay.
Anyways, any other thoughts on either of these?
Well, that line, I tried to hide my smile. I suggested, I think maybe has to do with what would be the head of the totem being all wrapped up like that. Like, if totem represents the guide in some way, and that would have the guide's face on it, then being wrapped up like that would hide the guide's smile.
Ah.
So that's why you're trying to figure out what was under the sheets. The wraps. Were you? I think you were.
That isn't what led me to think about that, but that is interesting. I guess. Yeah, I don't know what to do. I mean, the thoughtful one doesn't really impress me as getting stuff right all the time. So I don't know if it's a big deal if the thoughtful one thinks it's a signal. I mean, the guide immediately agrees, yes, I'm sure you're right.
That could just be wordplay because he uses right a bunch.
Yeah, he doesn't immediately agree. He agrees right away.
Well,
and then he uses left later on.
If he's agreeing with them, yep, it's a signal, then that would generally clue us, no, it is not a signal. It means something else.
Even though it's the thoughtful one, Vincent?
Yeah, screw the thoughtful one.
I think it's so they want you to think that, but what they mean is, yes, he said right away, I'm sure you're right. She's suspicious of the right, the thing signaling to go left. So the group is debating between it being a warning or a signal, right? So it's either telling them not to go a direction or to go a direction. The direction, if it's telling them to go a direction, it's telling them to go left, right? The thoughtful one is saying, yep, that's what I think. He's saying, I'm sure right. So meaning that it's the other way. It's a warning. But I don't think a lot of times the stories aren't to be taken literally in here. You're just trying to pick out words. You just gotta have to puzzle when it's doing one or when it's doing the other.
Greg, what do you think of this one? Where it says there is only one way to go. Put in an other. If you say those as two separate sentences, it's almost like put in another way to go.
Uh-huh. Right. Oh, that's interesting.
And maybe that's what the blank thing is for, is like you have a blank slate to
make your own maze.
Hey, I'm just trying to find other exits to this room, like I wasn't saying.
That's compelling to me. That's interesting. Yeah.
And then there's that box in the lower left corner, which nobody ever talks about.
I think about it a lot.
Me too. It haunts my dreams.
Haven't been able to put my thoughts into words. That.
Wow.
If you climb in there, you can pop out of the empty barrel on 39. Makes as much sense as going to room 1 from 6.
Hey, I'm trying to offer our gentle viewers some hope when they get lost in this place.
Greg doesn't like to hear ideas that aren't perfect. Just wasting our time.
It's a waste of time if you don't believe in what you're saying.
I don't believe in what you're saying. You're wasting my time.
Believe this, Vance, or don't believe it. I don't care. Look, going at your see-through thing, okay? I'm going to tie a few things together and just see how it works. I'm just thinking as I talk, or not thinking. It's another way of putting that. So you have your see-through thing. We're going see-through to 34. The signal there is actually overlapping that see-through and pointing to the left door in 35, but the see-through door is actually going to 25, which is the room that I think that this room is supposed to reference in the first place.
Actually, all the rooms that connect to 35, if you put the totem in there, it points to the correct door, except for room 29.
Oh, 29, is that the room that goes to 17?
Yeah, it's the room with the hidden door.
Okay.
That's
Which we're never going to do on this podcast, by the way.
What's that?
Which we're never going to do on this podcast.
What? Room 29?
No.
Let's go right now. Let's talk about room 29. I'm going to present room 29 right now. Okay? There's a hidden door on the table. Done.
There it is, guys.
You're welcome.
You're on your way to a bright future.
That is actually probably the only insight someone would need if they're looking to find the 16-step path. That's the only thing that you might overlook on your own. Other than that, you can just map it out and do it.
Yep.
So if you've watched all the way up to episode 10 and you're not really interested, you just want to find the 16-step path, there you go. We've helped you out.
Watch the end of episode 10. Skip the rest of the stuff. Watch what you just watched.
Because otherwise you're just wasting your time.
Exactly.
We'll go back and edit out all the ideas we've expressed that weren't correct at some point, and we'll condense this down to about 45 seconds. The entire series. Yeah, 35 is the only remaining room on the Abyss that we have no puzzle points on. White Raven says there's something different going on in this room, whatever that means. But it would seem to mean it's not just hinting at the identity of the guide, you know, because then it would be, we wouldn't have points to get, because identity of the guide stuff doesn't fit into the number scheme.
Well, in my personal Abyss, we have like 2 points in this room. So take that for what it's worth.
Do we get 1 point for picking the correct door?
Nope. You don't get any points for that. You got 1 point for the Vance Gentile hook and
cushion
connection. The Vance Gentile hook and cushion connection. And then I got a point for my 25 work, which was brilliant.
Yeah,
and then we also got a phantom point for the see-through thing. Vantage points are special. You can't get those by just solving stuff and figuring out stuff. You have to find things that are like ghost things.
Right, you get phantom points for finding solutions that are so clever Christopher Manson would never have thought of them.
Oh man.
I think your 25 thing is, I mean, it's interesting to me. I don't know that I'd call it a solution, but there's a lot of interesting connections in the maze that I think are obvious connections that I don't call solutions. Like, remember, you watched, well, back when we did the 24 episode, and Gentile pointed out that in 24 the visitors are referred to as uncertain, he calls them uncertain guests, right?
Oh.
Yeah.
And then in room 1 he talks about how the uncertainty of his, I can't remember if he says guests or visitors, but uncertainty of visitors is one of my little pleasures. And then in 24 he refers to them as uncertain visitors. And I already went on about it in there. I never noticed that before. Obviously, that's not a solution. It doesn't help you get to the right room, but it's a deliberate connection.
The difference between 25 is in 25 it talks about how you need to look in other rooms. Which to me
So you
saying
say solution in the sense that when you reach the right room, it would indicate that you've reached the right room because you're more comfortable.
right.
Maybe you should go into more detail. Well, you started to explain it. I don't think you mentioned room 4, which I think ties into it as well. Room 4 goes 225. You can't go. I'm sorry, not 4.
You're
42.
thinking of the hat room, right?
Yeah, 42. Sorry. 42 goes 225. I think if we're talking about connections to 25 and comfort, I think the guide asking them to take off their coats, I think that's something you'd say to somebody. I mean, that's almost synonymous to me with getting comfortable. Get
Right.
comfortable and take off your coats. So if we're buying that, I think that's part of it.
Yeah, that's like a pre-clue if you're coming that way. But this isn't. We're not talking about 25. Maybe we should discuss this on a 25 episode, or should we go with this? Should we keep talking about it?
I think it's okay to go afield. I mean, when we chose 6 and 35, we knew we'd have to go a little far afield to have anything to talk about. I think it's okay to go where this takes us.
Okay, so let me present the whole solution, and you can talk about the part you don't like. So if you're in 25, there's a bit about one of his parents being lowborn, the other being close to a king, and then how he's always felt at home here. Okay, that's the kind of relevant paragraph I'm going off of. And then at the end, they're disconcerted by the apparent lack of clues, perhaps in another room, they said, leaving for. So then you can go in any of the 3 rooms, 34, 13, or 35. And in 35, it's the lowborn room, where they're uncomfortable because the couch collapses. It's lowborn because it's someone's basement. It's ratty looking. It's lowborn. If you go in 13, they're uncomfortable as well. And it just flat out says they're uncomfortable. Or they weren't really comfortable here at I Knew Why. To me, I draw a connection between a director, the director's chair, and a king. But Vince does not like that, so I won't waste his time. And then if you go to 34, it's the middle class room. So we have class and comfort. In the middle class room, drawing room or parlor, they get really cozy. They sit and they talk about their lives, and that's the proper door to go in. And then to add on top of that, if you go into 35, which is the room that we talked about a little bit today, the signal totem actually points to the left, which in 25 is the leftmost door. 34 is the proper door. Oh, and then further, leaving the thing alone in light and silence. So if you think of the top strip at the top of 25 is like a silent movie strip. The lightermost is to the left, and I think that's the one you got puzzle points for, was saying the lightermost door is the right door. And then the right, as you go right, it gets darker. Oh, and silence too. His mouth is closed in the leftmost door, so the leftmost panel. So the lightest and most silent panel is the appropriate one. But that's kind of going off on another tangent. And then to top it all off, each of those rooms, except for 35, goes directly back to 25. So you can peek in and peek out without having to cheat. If you go into 35, you have to loop back around, but you will go back to 25 again before you can get anywhere outside of the loop.
We haven't had a good run of awkward silences since we didn't like the first episode, so we're trying to work them back in.
Yeah.
Give the reader a little time to digest our ideas while we stare at the book or at each other. Yeah, I mean, all that comfort stuff does seem to be there. I don't know. Yeah, you said it. I don't like the director being close to a king thing, but that comfort stuff, it's interesting. Well, we got anything else on anything we've talked about, or 36 and 35 in particular?
Well, let's talk about what we're going to do next.
Okay. What are we going to do next? The idea is that relatively soon, within the next couple months, we're going to maybe transition to a little higher quality episodes when Alex is going to kind of take over. He's going to quit his job and edit these videos full time.
That's right. There's big money in these YouTube videos if you monetize them.
So tell your friends. See if we can get up to like 45 hits on this one. Yeah. What? Anyone got any rooms in particular or subjects they want to talk about next time? I'll tell you what I'd be interested in doing, but maybe we want to wait until we start getting some production into this. But I'd like to just do an episode that's not even about puzzles. That's just about like the artwork, the aesthetic of the maze.
Oh, yeah.
I pronounce it that way for you, Alex. I don't even know when I say aesthetic.
Well, yeah, I think that's a good idea.
That would be good to wait for October, though.
Okay, so we'll wait until we're a little more organized. See, the idea here is I started out these Hangouts on Air because it's a completely simple, straightforward way to just start doing podcasts, but it's really not the ideal way to do things, and there's really a lot more that could be done, but I'm never going to do it because I'm too lazy, so hopefully we'll...
I feel in that it actually gets it done.
Right. If we hadn't started doing it this way, I don't think we ever would have started.
Yeah.
So I think this was a good first move, but maybe we can get something better rolling here. So, okay, let's hold off on that then.
Oh, yes.
Pick a room. You've been here so long.
Pick a room. Pick a room, Greg.
It's your turn.
And then
I don't know what rooms we've done. I don't remember. Do we have a list somewhere I can look at so I don't pick something that we already did?
A list. The reason you don't know which rooms we've done is because you don't watch the episodes when you're not in them.
I watched the one that you dedicated to me. No, you tried to get me to watch that scary one. I'm not going to watch that. I have to sleep at night.
You're a grown goddamn man. Okay.
If I was a grown goddamn man, do you think I'd be doing this?
Touche.
Oh, that's such a good point.
All right.
I see you try to cover it up with your beard.
No, you did it. You beat me with that one. Come back. Well, I'll ask the question as I usually ask it. Do we want to do something we know a lot about or something we don't know much about?
Let's do something we don't know much about.
31, anyone? I think it was actually mentioned. Manson said something about that. That nobody's.
31. Yeah, 31's good. That's
Yeah,
the,
31.
I
mean,
30,
like all the other ones.
Halloween for that. That's a spooky room.
Oh, yeah, we should save it for that. We should save it.
all right.
Okay. Did we do
Yeah, I
it?
don't know what rooms we've done. Have we done room 1?
I usually love
We did room 1, right?
No, we didn't do room 1. We referenced it a lot, I'm sure.
We could do room 1. We've done. I should not just like turn through the page chronologically. Let's get out of the trap. Let's not do a trap, okay?
Okay.
We've done 36. I remember that. I think we've done 34.
Have we done 2, guys? Have we done 2?
We have not done 2. I mean, it's been
Let's do
discussed
2.
a lot, but
Like we've talked about it ad infinitum on the chat, but
That would be one. Yeah.
I love this room. I love 2.
Okay, let's do 2.
No, just don't do it for me. If you guys have,
I think if anyone had anything that they really wanted to jump on, they would have jumped like 5 minutes ago.
2's
Yeah.
a good balance.
Great.
We've got a lot to say about 2, but I think in the end there's still a lot more to find as well.
Right.
That's probably a good one. We've probably got a lot to say.
Yeah. 2 is good.
should we save? Okay.
Anybody present 2? I haven't done
No.
one.
I don't know.
I just said I'll.
What am I gonna do? Am I gonna repeat what we talked about?
We try to give a baseline for what's known, and then we kind of all jump off of that base together in a conversation.
Because it's a debatable room. I think we've all debated about this quite a bit.
Yeah.
Well, we'll debate about it some more.
Yeah, so you would give the facts like there's 2 different right ways depending on which way you're going, right?
Yeah.
Kind of point out some things. I don't know.
So is 2? Do you have to go in and out 2 different ways, or is there an alternate route that you can get out of? In and out? Is mandatory to use 2?
You don't have to use 2, right? 2 isn't part of the path per se. It's like an off-path route.
Yeah.
It is. Oh, it is off-path. You're right. It is.
Yeah. So depending on if you're trying to go in or out when you go astray, there's a different way you want to go. So if you're trying to go towards 45, you go to 29. If you're trying to go towards 1, you go to 12. Is that right?
Mm-hmm.
You know, actually, well, I'm not going to say it actually because we're doing it next week.
Yeah.
I'm not going to say anything. All right. So is that the thing? Is that what we're doing?
2, next week.
2.
Look forward to it, gentle viewers.
Oh, it's great to have you back, Greg.
It's great to be back.
You know, it was like 5 episodes or something where I said I was going to conclude every episode with just saying thanks to Christopher Manson and thanks to John Bailey and thanks to White Raven. Then I promptly forgot and never did it. And then I remembered it before the show, and I thought, you know what I'm going to do is I'm not going to say that I'm going to do that every episode because I'm going to continue to forget about it, but I'm going to offer thanks to White Raven, but in the form of doing one episode without swearing profusely because apparently that bothers him in some way. But I think I made it about 5 minutes into this episode before I didn't hold true to that one. So maybe sometime in the future, I'll do a special episode just for White Raven where I don't curse for the entirety of it.
I think I'm a worse cursor than you. Well, no, we're both pretty bad. I tried to curse myself this time. I don't think I swore. I think I swore maybe once.
I don't know. It's like asking me how many breaths I took during the episode. All right, that's enough.
Okay, quit wasting your time.
Yeah, until next time. Stop wasting everybody's time. Don't talk to us until. No, in all seriousness, we should point out we're joking about that every time we say it. It is not a waste of time to offer ideas even if they turn out to be bogus, even if halfway through them you realize, oh man, this
You
is
wasted
totally.
a portion of your life you could have spent with your kids or family or whatever. It's not a waste.
If you have any thoughts about room 6 or 35, leave the comments in the thing below on YouTube.
Oh, and that reminds me too, because the one person who leaves this comments is Thale Kreider. Thale Kreider, I think you appreciate being issued challenges, so I am challenging you to solve room 2 before next week's episode, and then give us your solution so we can put it on the air.
And solve it just in terms of colors.
I won't impose that restraint, but for extra credit, you can use a great suggested method of solving it only in terms of colors. All right. Good night, everybody.